Hey guys, welcome back to Someone's PC. This week we got a two-part series for you. It was supposed to be a one-part series, but it went a little longer than we thought. We didn't want to take up too much of your time for one video like we did last week, so we apologize if it's going to end abruptly in the middle, but you'll see my face again at the end, and we'll post the second video up on Thursday. And again, thanks for watching. Here's Dylan and Russ with Johnny Rabus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Someone's PC. We just finished up our first week after Nationals, and we're going to start doing our Victory Road to Worlds for 2015. I have with us Johnny Rabus and, as always, Dylan Bryan. And we just went through about 3 hours of Finnegan coin crap all over Facebook, which we will not be addressing because that was just way too entertaining for us to actually care about, and we'd rather talk about actually good topics. To start, I want to say shout out to Andrew Wimbold and his website Charizard Lounge. He actually messaged me earlier this week with a bunch of questions that he wants to know for Worlds, and I'm using all those as an outline and adding more to it to try and help everyone understand experienced players' mindsets like Dylan and Johnny's, and then newbies like myself who have never been to Worlds, and how I feel going into this format of basically what everyone considers a grinder day one, and then day two elitist kind of madness thing, and just how we look at decks for before and the past of Worlds, and then how we should be applying your guys' experience and logic plus new experience into that transition. So to start off, how's everyone's day? You guys have a good day? Good?
Pretty chill. Just
nothing crazy? Class? Nothing?
It's
nice.
Okay.
Off work. Don't care.
Jeez. So, the first question that he sent, he said, how does the metagame develop for the World Championship? Is it the same as any other large tournament, such as U.S. Nationals and the regionals we have? Not including foreign nationals, I believe, because we have so many more players than they do. Or is there anything unique about the World's meta compared to those tournaments?
Oh. Instead of a 10 play point requirement, there's a championship point requiration.
yeah, we got that.
Okay,
so that usually means round
nice
one
300.
you're less likely to see I don't know, some Gourgeist deck or some Mega Charizard deck or some of the random decks that you see rounds 1 and round 2 at Nationals. A little more standard because everybody has at least some level of competence or above average.
Yeah, everyone knows at least what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Whether or not it's going to work, I don't know. But
what I'm thinking he was trying to get with the question is, before with other nationals, we'd like, oh, let's see how Canada does, and then that'll bring out U.S. nationals, and then how other foreign nationals did and help sculpt it, and then we had the trump card ban, and so Canada had to go in blind.
Yeah.
into that tournament. And then Canada had Metal with Chase doing really well, and then they had a good showing of Raichu plus X, like with Bats or Yveltal, etc. kind of thing. And we went to U.S. Nationals, and that didn't happen. We had Wailord, two Toad variants, and then what was the last one?
And then playing.
Yeah, Metal. It was very diverse. It was good. So I think what he's thinking is, do you use the U.S. Nationals as like a frame into your mindset going into it, instead of these foreign ones? Because like you can look back and be like, all right, this one did decent, like Raichu Bats and stuff, or you just kind of discount it all because U.S. Nationals is a lot
you
more
look at the
prominent.
most recent one, which is U.S. Nats.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. You look at the most recent one. That's what most people are going to do, but you don't discount the past. Every single time you discount the past and forget about something, it always comes back to haunt you.
Yeah. Like Flygon. Let's go.
Or like how so many people could have probably played Pyro last year.
Okay.
Yeah, like Pyro was everywhere for Nats and just gone for Worlds.
Yeah, just because something does well doesn't mean that it's going to do well again. A lot of times it just means that that's what people are going to react to. So like just because our top 8 was very different than Canada's top 8 doesn't mean that people weren't looking at Canada's top 8. I think that everybody looked at it kind of to the extreme because they were so lost, and they're like, oh man, I can't lose to Raichu. And as a result, no good players played Raichu, and no Raichu's made top 8 because everybody was ready for it.
Okay.
But now people might be less ready for Raichu because it didn't do so well at Nationals. Kind of sets the stage for it to possibly be like a sleeper deck. Some of the DC reliant decks like Raichu and Night March could possibly come back.
Yeah. Same thing, Johnny?
If they can deal with Aegislash, obviously, because
I mean, essentially, Metal's a really strong call, and after it won Canada, you saw Toad Garb come in and win our Nats, and that's honestly because I mean, with all due respect, he came into a Metal meta, and he was able to do well.
Yeah.
Because he read the meta well.
That was good. I think what I was trying to roll into before I lost my train of thought was the foreign nationals. Alright, there you go. I've heard from a lot of other players that U.S. and Canada, like, we understand that we just want to follow the U.S. nationals and all that. And then, or like 4 or 5 players have told me they're scared of other. They're more scared of foreign nations, like over in Europe, and then like Asians that don't necessarily follow our U.S. meta as hard, and so they're trying to, like everyone's trying to just metagame the U.S. and then doing so, they're gonna get creeped up on by like some sweet rogue European like variants, that kind of thing. Do you think that's a common thing for the Europeans or like foreigners to do? Because I've never been to Worlds, and so from what you guys saw when you sat down and played against them, were they just playing standard stuff, maybe like a hot tech of like 2 of this, 2 or 3 of this? You're like, oh, that's cute. It's trying to answer like this meta. Or last year when it was just VG Flood, and then we had the Mega Kangaskhan deck, I think, out of Japan making the top 4 or top 8. I'm not sure about that, but VG was fairly standard, and US Nationals just got dominated by Pyroar, and so they're like, all right, no one's gonna play Pyroar, we're just gonna play VG, easy peasy.
Yeah, apparently, still surprises me.
Okay. I think a lot of people before that that World, a lot of people were like, oh, a lot of the other players in the other countries aren't that good because, for the most part, and like a lot of the top cuts were dominated by U.S. and like a couple of Japanese players. There weren't a ton of international players in top cut, except for like Igor and like the All Dark right here. Like they didn't make it that far. Yeah. But then last year it was just like everybody who said the U.S. is greater than all the other countries. Not a single U.S. player made top 8. This is kind of like an eye opener.
Yeah, that was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I think a lot of the international players, they just kind of, they don't always like follow our metagame because they have like their own testing circles. I mean, like there are, like I talk to like some of the international people and they're really cool guys. Get to see them at Worlds, but for the most part, a lot of U.S. players are very disconnected from these testing circles. So they kind of come up with their own ideas, and U.S. players kind of come up with their own ideas. And usually they come up like with like standard decks with like their own little twists. Like they played like PG, but like they added like Drifblim or Colress Machine, which wasn't standard at the time, and that kind of seems to be like the trend. They usually never come up with a ton of crazy rogue decks, I think. I mean, I'm sure some of them do, but I can't think of like one that's like
yeah, there's no real like eye openers.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that should be sufficient. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So rolling into the Pyro winning nationals and then doing absolutely nothing at Worlds.
Right.
Well, I think some Cali guys were running it and they were like 4-1 or 5-0 starting out, and then just eventually didn't make it in the cut. So he asked, with rogue and underrated decks generally taking down nationals, and then Worlds always being won by a standard meta deck, VG. He said Darkrai Sableye and Darkrai Mewtwo. I wasn't rendered in the Darkrai Mewtwo era, so that's.
Oh my god, that was such a good deck.
That wasn't that great.
Do you think like there's a particular reason why rogue decks can never take it down? Is it once it wins U.S. nationals, people are just like, okay, we're gonna find something to counter that, or no one's gonna play that anyway, and that's their general mindset going into it. Like Johnny, you as a player, what do you think when you go
most of like what wins nationals or what does well at nationals as a rogue deck usually has a big glaring weakness that no one really knew how to deal with because they never tested it. And once they started testing it, they're like, oh wait, this is actually really easy to beat. So they know how to beat it. So it seems like everything just falls off at that point.
Okay. Dylan?
I think the reason why like rogues do super well at nationals is because usually nationals is like the first big tournament in the US anyway, like for that format. Like usually regionals happens, and then I mean, in this case, we had like it with Roaring Skies, but that there was a trump card ban. But in the past, it was like regionals happened, then we have league challenges or battle roads, and then we have nationals. And league challenges and battle roads aren't really an accurate representation of the metagame. So our perspective of the metagame is kind of what does well at a four in nationals. But that's just kind of like reading something online, and you weren't really there. You don't really know what happened. So it's like when there's like when it's the first big tournament, there's like a lot of hidden gems that people might not realize because the format's not really figured out. It's just kind of what information people figure out from their own testing and what they read in articles, and then they kind of have to pick their deck based on incomplete information, and then usually somebody comes up with something that takes advantage from something that people were neglecting. Like this year it was Wailord, the year before it was Pyroar, the year before that it was Gothitelle Excelgor. Like there's almost always some way to exploit like the narrow mindset when it's like the first big event. And then when it like rolls around to Worlds, like Gothitelle Excelgor was a deck that you could kind of just play a second Keldeo and beat it. Now you could just add a Benelby in your deck and beat Wailord. Pyroar was like kind of weird because you couldn't just add in one card to fix your Pyroar matchup.
Yeah.
But everybody got so scared because they thought it was going to be like Gothitelle where everybody was going to tech for it, and then nobody actually did because it wasn't as simple as putting in one card. It was, and people didn't want to change their entire decks. So that kind of happened. So,
Okay.
but I think just by the time Worlds rolls around, like people have a better understanding of the format and there's less surprises. But that doesn't mean that rogue decks don't do well. Like Ross did super well with the Truth. And I feel like there was like years ago, there was like Stefan Silvestro did really well, like made it to the finals with his, or won, I don't remember, so with his B-Drill deck. Yeah, he won with his B-Drill deck, which was a rogue deck. And had he
beat
not
the Gyarados in top 4.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, if he didn't beat the Gyarados in top 4 or top 8, the Gyarados probably would have won. So like that was the time when a rogue deck did well. I mean, it's like if you have like 100 people in a tournament and like 5 of them are playing rogue decks, for the most part, the standard deck is going to win.
Will finally take hold, and you're like, all right.
But like there was the B-Drill and Gyarados, there was the Team Magma deck, there was the Nidoqueen deck. Those were like before my time, so like etc. So I feel like rogue decks still have a shot. They're just outnumbered.
Basically, those were before the internet.
Yeah, those were before the internet. But there were, yeah, the Gyarados deck was out there on the internet too. And Stefan Silvestro played the B-Drill deck at Nationals and like lost in top 32, and everybody just
everyone discounted B-Drill, including myself.
Jeez.
Yeah, me too. I was in seniors. I wasn't as good back then.
Okay, so to bounce onto that, we have a lot of seniors and juniors keeping up with our channel and following this. Do they have a different meta developing as opposed to the masters? Like because when you're that young, and there's like two types of players in my eyes. You have ones that play test at their locals and then with their parents who try to like scope out anything on Verbank and try to pull up information, and then two, you have like the people that are like they just happen to be a senior or a junior, and they're in with a very good circle of masters, like Ishan, you know, like those names come to mind, like people that constantly win a lot in the seniors, and because they get to play test with these beast masters, that they're just gonna take whatever those masters are playing and just play and stomp the living mess out of everyone in seniors. So, as a senior, would you even consider playing rogue, or you were just like try to play the safe deck, and then just play it somewhat well?
I think seniors and juniors is always more predictable than masters because they kind of
really is.
So I feel, but it's harder as a senior to come up with your own rogue deck, I think, or junior. Like years ago, when like everybody was playing Gardevoir Galley and Empoleon, there was the junior that won with that Intimidation deck. So I feel like if a master helps a junior or a senior come up with a deck and like practices with them, it's like very possible. But I think it's very unlikely that a junior or senior just on their own is able to come up with a rogue deck and win. Like, I don't know, I played like a Scissor Electrode thing and lost in top 8, and like that was my own creation in my first Worlds and Seniors. But like looking back, I had a good I think I could have maybe won if my list was like the concept was so good, but looking back my list was terrible. I was like, why did I play all these bad cards? Like if I literally had anybody look at this list, they would have steered me in the right direction. The trainer engine was just so bad.
All right. So it basically covers that, the rogue decks. We can stop talking about all that because we're on there for a good minute.
I don't know. I like the rogue decks. I hate the boring deck, so maybe I'm biased.
All right. So this would be particularly for me and Johnny.
What?
So as a player who's playing on day 1, we don't have our day 2s.
Yep.
What's your mindset going into this? Do you play the best deck that you know, and then you just slaughter day one, and just take like if someone scouts you that's playing day two, or they try to copy your deck, or they try to like look at it and they're like, okay, we're gonna break it by playing X card, or like a 2 of in order to beat this one. Do you take that like that chance and accept it to better your chances of getting into day two? Like what do you think about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You do whatever you can to make day two.
Yeah, because if you're holding the so-called best deck and then you're not even making it into day two because you didn't play it,
Exactly.
Then good for you.
Then,
You knew about it, and then you're gonna be hipster on the sidelines.
Basically,
for the best deck going
yeah.
out.
No,
Okay.
just keep it going, keep the train going.
I think I'm gonna.
I mean, and they
I'm
can't really do
the same
too
thing.
much in a day.
No, and then you're only one person. You know, you can only
Exactly.
accomplish so much. Unless
I mean, if you have some like, I think it really depends. Like, if you play a metagame like deck, like people aren't really gonna like tech against you, like
Yeah.
because it's just like a standard deck. But like, let's say you play something like Whalelord day one, you're not gonna win Worlds with Whalelord now
yeah,
because
No.
it's a deck.
Yeah,
it's a deck that nobody saw coming that they can beat with one card that they're probably gonna play because they're very afraid, and it's like something that's very easy to tech for. I think it really
Oh,
depends
definitely.
what that day one deck is. Like, I feel like there's a lot of like potential like cool metagame plays, and like you play like the best deck day one, but I think there is some merit if you have some crazy rogue deck that gets beaten by one card.
Yeah.
Like saving that for day two and winning Worlds with that.
Okay, so
But
you would rather hold the rogue for day two than day one.
If it's a crazy rogue that people can like literally just tech 1 or 2 cards and beat it,
Yes.
like that's like very easily exploitable, then I would
Okay.
save that. But like otherwise, like you just go guns blazing day one and just
Okay.
play what you think is the best deck. You're only one person. Like if they see you win with Size the Toad or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so with that logic, you just slaughtered day one, like with whatever you got. I don't know, Flygon, something juicy. Okay. Do you,
Sure.
Do you
It won't be flying.
Do you keep it into day two? Like I know we said like you go guns blazing, but let's say I built a rogue deck. I know it's gonna be juicy for day one. In day two, I just want to mind game everybody by not even playing it because I'm expecting them to counter it. So I day one play like, let's just say it's Whalelord. So I play Whalelord. I run into 0 Bumblebee, 0 counters to somehow beat it, and then 6-0, and then just automatically get into day two. Do I keep it day two? Or
If-
do you switch?
If 7 out of 8 of if let's say there's 8 people that make it through, there's going to be more than that. But if 7 out of 8 of the people that make it through are Whalelord, I would consider switching because Whalelord's going to get
Yeah.
countered.
Okay.
But if you're like the only Whalelord that makes it through and you're confident with the deck, then just keep it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it depends on more of what's going on around you as well.
You're only one person. I think it just goes back to
I'm
that.
only one man. I can only do so much.
Yeah, they're not gonna do anything for one, but there's like 4, 5, 6, then they'll start thinking about it.
Okay.
Like yeah.
So
Yeah.
coming off of the rogue concept, if I have a strong deck day one, I just go standard Chase Maloney metal kind of thing.
Yeah, and then if you don't have a crazy rogue deck for day two,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like all fire around you,
Yeah.
then just stick with metal for day two if that's what you're confident in.
Gotcha. But if I have like a Lanny dex built, and then you're just like, all right, time to like sneak attack with one of them kind of thing. Okay, that's good.
I mean, you could take a risk if you want, but I would probably just stick with the same thing that I played for day 1 for day 2.
I think, like,
Let's
most
take it.
people
We go
think
crazy. This is good.
Most people stick with the same thing. Like when they grind in, they generally play the same deck for
Okay.
the most.
Yeah.
The next one would just be directly for Dylan. Since you have just day 2, what are you doing day 1? Are you scouting? Do you even care? Or do you only care if it's something that's out of the ordinary?
Yeah, I mostly just care if it's something out of the ordinary, and then I care what decks make it in. I probably won't be actively scouting during the event, but I'll just kind of like, oh hey, what decks? I guess when it was grinders, it was easier. Maybe I'll have to be more. Maybe I'll have to pay attention to the last 2 rounds. But it was just kind of like, oh, what 4 or 8 decks made it in? Okay, that's all the information I need.
Yeah, for me, it would be like if I was in your position, I wouldn't really care. Unless something like someone had something really, really juicy that you yourself would consider playing. I always make my deck choices at last minute anyway, besides Flygon time. So now, if it's like my choices is to go play, let's say like Metal Ray for day 2, I'm probably not even gonna watch whatever happened day 1 until someone comes up to me and tells me something.
Yeah,
Out of the
I mean, if
ordinary
half.
stomping, yeah.
I mean, even if it's not something out of the ordinary, just like half the decks that made it through were Manestra Garbodor, you might want to rethink your choice.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
No,
yeah,
you
of course,
definitely
like,
go
that's-
around. Definitely
But
go
I
around
think-
looking, but You can't actually.
Yeah, I usually don't. I'll probably be chilling when I might not even be awake when round 1 starts. So
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the people who actually made it out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
You
know
check
what
it like
decks are gonna
6
be
or
playing
7.
Yeah, I just take into consideration what decks made it through, and then just kind of see if that influences my deck choice.
Yeah, but there's gonna be a lot of mind games going on from what everyone from day 2 is gonna be playing with each other, and if they're gonna be telling other people what to be playing for day 1, and if they're considered countering that, which is why they gave them that list to go into day 1 with, so they could switch it up for day 2. And then
I mean, each person can only influence so many people. Like each person is like, oh man, I'm gonna give
I get
person.
that. I get that.
Yeah.
But if like you said, if the majority of them's Manetric, right? And I'm planning to play Metal Ray, and then everyone gets in day 1 with Manetric, what is your mindset going into it? Okay, I'll give you exact numbers. There's 64 players, and 30 of them were playing Mega Manetric, and they all got into day 2. Do you think those 30 are going to be like balls to the wall? We going Manetric still, or are they going to be like, wow, there's so much Manetric that they're going to switch? Or do you not give them that much credit?
A lot of them are going to stay with Manetric.
Yeah.
A lot of these people just got their 300 championship points. This deck worked for them. They put all their testing into it, their heart and their soul. They got them into day 2.
Okay.
It's their ticket. It's their ticket to world champion.
Yeah.
You said 30. I would say like 20 to 25. Stay with it.
Okay. Good. That was good. I want to know because I might go something basic.
I don't think that. I think that other people might try and counter it also, but there's enough where it's very realistic that you could play it the first couple rounds.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is, in your years, I don't know if 4 came out of nowhere. In your years playing at Worlds, have you noticed any prevalent patterns taking place in a tournament with only the top players that leave them open to exploitations? Which I have no idea what he's talking about.
I don't even know what that meant.
Okay, no, he's saying, is there any particular patterns that you see at Worlds that good players can exploit that not 300 CP players can't? No, I'm not trying to take shots at anyone. If you're watching this, I love you. Johnny only has like 310 points anyway, so we're all good. We're good.
We got there.
We're all friends.
You have 310. I thought it was less.
Dylan's one of those elitists. He doesn't want LCs anymore. He's one of those
304.
guys. He's chanting it.
Yeah, almost 310.
All right, because I don't think there is. I think the question is more like it's like you're playing poker and right before you cut into money, people start folding everything and they just want to survive, and that's when you just start raking pots and picking up like blinds and antes every single hand. So at Worlds there's nothing like really exploitable,
I mean everybody kind of knows what they're doing, but I feel like it's just kind of the stuff with ideas and everybody's going to be aware of when it's good idea and all the time rolls and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But that's every tournament, unless you get a player at a city that has never made top cut before or something. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't really see anything with it.
Yeah.
Are you guys expecting a lot more rule sharks and times and a lot more disputes to happen about time at Worlds than any other tournament? Only because this year we've seen such a dramatic increase in slow play, and just really sketchy things.
It's there every year.
And what Klaczynski did in the finals when it was legal slow playing. If he's trying to say it wasn't slow playing, I don't care. The dude was checking home dude's graveyard after speeding up for past 5 turns, going back and forth just so he can keep quaking punching. So it seems like there's going to be a lot more disputes, or is that not the world environment, in world championships?
There's always some people that are I guess more honorable, you could say, and then there's some people who will do anything to win. So I guess you just treat, if you don't know your opponent, be friendly and stuff towards them, but keep your eye out for any cheating. I've had people try and cheat at me again at Worlds, without naming people. Somebody mulliganed, they flashed me a hand of all reverse hollow cards. I thought I saw something that was green, and I was just curious what the trainers were, because I wanted to see what I was playing against, so I could choose which Pokemon to start with. And then I was like, "Can I see that?" And then he's like, "Oh wait, sorry, I have a basic." And then he flipped over a combi, and then I turn 1 him. So I was like, "Oh okay." He had an unplayable hand with a combi that he didn't want to open with. So I've heard stories where people their opponent speaks English with them the entire game, then the guy all of a sudden doesn't know how to speak English anymore, and then there's some debate about how much damage is on the Pokemon, tons of crazy
that's
things.
beast. That's sweet. I do that.
Yeah, I think that something like that happened.
No English.
Something.
Excuse me.
I think Ty Smith lost a game like that because his opponent did that to him. I don't even know who the guy was. That never happened
wow.
to me. Like, there's tons of crazy stories you'll hear. I mean, like at any big tournament, nationals or world, there's always
Yeah,
going to be some people that really want to win. So.
Okay, but
I haven't had that happen at all.
in general, how's the environment with foreign players that
For the
don't
most
know
part,
you
they're-
and then don't speak English? Like, how do you, like, is it cool communicating? Do you call over a judge? And because you have to call over a judge, and maybe like when you meet them and you're like, oh wow, this dude doesn't speak my English, do you play at a quicker pace? You know what I'm saying? Because if you have to keep calling a judge over and they don't give you that time extension because you're trying to get a translation, or there was a dispute in how you worded something, and there's gonna cause like.
I mean, usually if they don't speak English, you just kind of point to the attacks, and they understand like heads or tails and good luck, and then they're like friendly, and that's kind of all you need to know.
Okay.
Yeah, like everyone seemed to know what they were doing, and from my experience, most of them really knew at least some English, and they knew what most of everything was doing. I've never actually had to call over a translator, which has been nice.
But they do have them there, yes.
Yeah, they do have them.
Somebody didn't know what my Tickle Eevee did. They wanted to know what Tickle did,
What
so we
does
had
Tickle
to
do?
get
What
it.
does Tickle
If
do?
you flip
What did
heads,
it do?
if you flip heads, they're paralyzed. 2 for 10.
Oh, it's not, so it's Nuzzle, but it's Tickle.
It's
Yeah.
Tickle.
But it does damage.
Oh, snap.
But it's an extra energy.
Did you use it, or was he just reading it?
No, I used Tickle. I was like Tickle. Then we needed to call a
Alright.
translator because we didn't know what that did.
Yeah, okay, next question. Stupid tickles. This is crazy. Alright.
Don't play bad cards, and there won't be any need for translation.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
that's what I'm scared of. If I go
Just-
rogue
just
deck, I'll
play
be
common
like,
things.
Sand Slammer. And they're like, what? And I was like, 10. You take 10.
There
Like,
Or actually a couple Japanese players that had, like, I remember in the last chance qualifier, they had a binder of every single card in their deck in English, because, like, my mom was playing against one of them,
Oh,
which was,
dang.
like, 3-0,
that's a
and,
beast.
she didn't know what a lot of the cards in their deck did, because they play, like, some, like, usually hot tech cards, and then they would just, like,
Yo.
open up the binder, and then they would just point, and then that was very helpful.
Yo, that's why
That's
they're there.
extremely
That's why they're at
helpful.
Worlds, because they're efficient. They got a system.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. All right. This one I was trying to hype up to you guys for a minute now. In 2004,
Oh lord.
that's when Team Magma took over. Okay.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Before my time.
and
Johnny, did you
why
play back then or
why
no?
does Double Crisis
I did.
suck? Why does it suck now?
I played it then.
Like, what's bad about it? Are we overlooking it? Are we just being ignorant again? Or is it gonna come up and just jam us?
I just think everybody that says that, I'm just like, have you read the cards? Like,
Yeah. No, they're basically the same thing as they were 10 years ago, which is really bad considering the power creep that we've had.
Okay.
yeah, like these cards got like a tiny power creep, but it doesn't match the power creep.
Even Muck?
Not
Even
enough.
Muck? Plus one retreat, man. That's crazy.
I mean, there's like
Yo,
a couple of cards. There's a couple of cards that could be cute, like Muck and like both the stadiums and stuff. But Team Magma or Team Aqua as a deck is not
Okay.
strong.
All right. Next one is apparently when you go to Worlds, you get to come up with names for your deck, and just in case you win or top 8 or whatever you do, then they get to print it. Is this true? If so, how does that system work, and how dirty of a name can you come up with? Will they look at it and they're gonna be like, all right, you can't say this, and you're banned for even recommending this? You know what I'm saying? Has anyone tried to be like stupid with it? Or like,
Probably not.
I have no idea. I don't think anybody's been stupid. I feel like people are grateful in that moment that they won or got second.
Alright, I'm calling
But,
Finnegan Coin.
You just get 4 names and you list them 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they like your first choice, your second choice, and usually Pokemon puts your first choice unless they have unless they find it offensive or they feel like it infringes on some kind of copyright thing. I imagine.
I'm gonna call it John Wilkes Booth. This is gonna get good. Like
Oh.
we're gonna come up with some crazy stuff. Alright. Alright, the last one was just a general one. And again, thank you, Andrew, for all these questions, because I kind of had no idea what to ask. I was just going to sit here and start talking about Worlds and start talking about decks. This is pretty good. Is there anything else that you think players playing in the first World Championship should know that we haven't touched base on? Like the environment, how you should approach it? Should you be super serious? You know, just like nationals super try hard. You know, it's not.
No, I think Worlds is like a fun tournament. You get to meet people from around, from everywhere. It's like for the most, although there'll be some people who try and angle shoot you. It's that way at every single tournament, even out of cities. So for the most part, people are super nice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been one of the nicer events I've been at.
Beast.
Yeah.
Beast.
So practice and
Practice
don't
and
run terrible, and you'll do well.
don't be
Pick the right
bad.
deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's just like you play somebody who's competent every round instead of like the random decks the first couple rounds. You just treat it like that.
Okay.
Just like the quality of players is better, but if you like pick the right deck and you practice a lot and you know all the matchups, you'll still do fine.
Very nice. All right. That's all for the questions.
Hey guys, as promised, it's my face again. That ends the first segment of this week's series, if you will. And again, we'll post up the second part on Thursday. So please stay tuned. Thanks for logging in to Someone's PC, and we'll see you next time.